In this video, I'm going to show you how to save off weapons to the data store. So we'll make a gun giver here, just something simple so we can get a weapon. You hold down the proximity prompt, boom, you got a weapon, right? If you die, you're going to have it again. If you leave the game and you come back later, you're still going to have your weapon. That's going to be cool because if you do like quests and you buy stuff, you don't want to lose your weapon just because you left the game and you're going to come back later. So let's go ahead and get started with that. All right, so I'm going to leverage off my last video for data stores, and I'll put this link in the description. If you didn't see that video, it's fine. You can go from here. If not, you can look at the playlist and then go back and watch it if you want to see how that was leader stats. And I did a player count before that. But I'll make this game copyable. Click on that link in the description, hit these three dots. You won't have this stuff. You'll have edit. Go ahead and click on edit. You're going to get a copy of the game that I did for the video. It's going to be exactly the same. Boom, there you go. And it's going to be, you'll be able to save it off as yours, right? So now we'll just go to file. I don't want to save it to my account because it'll overwrite it and I'll ruin yours. I'll save it. I'll publish to Roblox as. You can just do save. You can do either one of those and then you'll get the choices to save it off. So I'm going to create a new game, right? We'll call this, Datastore Video 3. I might want to do more video or data store stuff. I'm going to turn off Team Create, and then I'm going to hit Create. And now I have a new place, and I won't overwrite this exact game that I'm telling you to copy. All right, let's go to Game Settings. I don't know if you saw that. I hit that blue cog up there. Security. You must enable studio access to API services because essentially, this is your game now. You copied it to your account. So you have to re-enable that. If you play it without doing that, you're going to get an error. Cool. Let's go ahead and start with our gun giver right away. Right. So we'll go ahead and make a block here. I'm going to call this gun giver. Gun giver. And then we'll say glass for material. Glacier glass. Cool. Transparency. I'm going to go with 0.6. Nice. And then let's make the size, I'll say 6 by 6 by 6. Cool. Pull it out of the ground. My collisions were off. All right. Nice. We got a little case here. We can put a little proximity prompt on there. Hit that plus sign. This is the easiest way to do it. We could do a vending machine like that. I might do that in another video. So I have a proximity prompt on that. So when you come up, you can click on it. Let's go ahead and we'll just change action type to take gun. And then maybe the hold duration is a little long in the demo. I think I'll just make that 1 second. There you go. Just so you have to hold it down 1 second in order for it to fire. Cool. Let's get a gun. Go to toolbox and gun. I like the hyper laser. There we go. I think this is the one that I used in the demo. 3 scripts. Let me just take a quick look. I'm going to look at the server scripts first. I think this is fine. Ooh, look at that. We can tag too. So we can do a kills and death leaderboard with this. This is looking good. Doesn't look like it's been modified. This is fine. It's just now they use lowercase d for delay, but it'll still run. That looks good. Yeah, I've looked through this one before. It's fine. We don't have local here, so that's why we have little red lines, right? They didn't declare it local. They're using a remote function instead of a remote event this is a client script, and you target with the client script, but then you do damage and you destroy things from the world with the server script so that everybody sees it. This mouse icon is just for the mouse icon, right? Self-explanatory. Cool. Now this handle right here is the only real tangible part to the gun, right? So we have a handle and we have a mesh. The mesh just goes over the handle, making it look like a gun. All right. I am going to put this gun in this block, but I'm not actually going to copy this gun. I'm going to have 2 guns. I'm going to do a Control D. This one right here, I'm going to move down to replicated storage. And I'm going to do my cloning from there, right? This gun up here, I'm going to move it under the gun giver, and I'm going to anchor it. So I'm going to get this handle, and I want to put it inside here. So I'm going to turn can collide off so that it goes inside nicely. And then I'm going to hit anchored. And then I'm going to get the position of my gun giver, right? Position. And then I'm going to put that on the handle. This works well because we only have one part on that gun. Control V. You'll have to play with it if you have a multi-piece gun. Cool. So that's centered. All right. Now I am going to put a script on my gun giver. Boom. And I'm going to call it give gun. Give gun. Cool. Let's get our prompt, our proximity prompt, right? That's just script.parent, right? Script parent. Oh, let's go down a level. Here, actually, let's put the gun giver script on the prompt. There we go. Now we can do script.parent. Although I don't know if that gets us much. Yeah, let's do it like that. All right, I'm also going to need my session utils, right? Because when I award the player the gun, I'm actually going to record it right there. That way I don't have to mess with my gun, like on pickup and stuff like that, or go through my player's inventory. I'll keep track of stuff as I get it. So I want to get server script service, and I'm going to require, let's get the game, let's do it this way, game, get service, server script service. That's the more proper way. And then we'll get our session utils. And I'll show you what that is in case you're new and you didn't follow along in the last video. We'll catch you up. We'll do this session utils. If we go down to server script service here, I have this session utils. That's a module script that we call from all over the place. It's a way that I keep all of my session data centralized. And then my game manager keeps track of people coming in and out of the game. All right, so we're going to get that, and you're going to see more about that session utils if you haven't seen the last video. But for now, just go ahead and make sure you have that required. I'm going to get an item name, and that's going to be my gun. So I'll say prompt, right? Because this is on the prompt. I'll do, where am I at? Prompt, and then I'm going to go up a level to gun giver, right? So I'll just be the parent of that, and then I'm going to go down to red hyperlaser, and then I'm just going to get the name. I'm not actually going to get the whole red hyperlaser. I'm just going to get the name. Cool. And then I'll get this prompt right here. That's our proximity prompt. I'll get the triggered event and connect it to an anonymous function. The player will be passed in. So when you trigger a proximity prompt, the player gets passed into that function that you capture. And then right here, I'll just put a note, award gun. So that when I forget about that, when I go to test it out at the end, I'll be like, oh, I forgot to do that. Cool. Let's go over to our session utils now. All right, let's take a look at that. So session utils, if you did all 3 videos, you're already going to have replicated storage here. If you didn't, we're going to have to add a variable for replicated storage. I'll keep it the same name. So we'll say rs game get service replicated storage, all right? Because that's where we put the gun, right? Let me check. Yep, replicated storage. There's the gun. It'll work in server storage too. Cool. So we got that taken care of. Before I go any further with that, I want to take a look at my save loop, right? So when I'm leaving my game, if we go all the way down to where we have player removing from session, I really don't like this. I'm afraid, we could put it in a P call, but I think that it's not going to help. I'm afraid that this could fire too slowly and this might become false, right? Because this is an asynchronous call. I'm not sure, I'm not positive. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this so that I have that data for a little while until this finishes firing. And then what I'm going to do, you guys can let me know what you think about this. I just came up with it not too long ago. I tested it. It seems to work really well. When I loop through my save data, I'm going to say if game.players find first child, I'll do the player.name, right? Because right here we're going through all of our session data, and then We're getting a player and the associated data. And then what we can do is we can get that player's name and check to see if it's in the player service. If it's not, ooh, they quit, right? So then we won't update that. Let's put an else here. Let's go ahead and format this. We're running into some trouble. Oh, I forgot the then. If then. Format document. Whoops. What happened there? Control Z. If then. Oh, the then got stuck down there. Oh my goodness. All right, let's try it again. There we go. Cool beans. Sorry about that. Now what we can do is, if they aren't in the game, right, because we failed this test right here, we'll go session data for that player, PLY, is nil. And that will clear this up so it doesn't get all bunched up. We'll just wait for the save loop to do that. All right. I tested it many times. It seems to work fine, but some of you guys might have some insight. I just didn't like the way it was down there below before. And I've been using that for a long time, but I'm afraid we'll lose data at some point. All right, so what do we need? We need a function called award weapon, where we award it to our player. And I'm going to call it from that proximity prompt script. So I'm not going to make it local. I'm going to prepend it with a session utils. And then I'm going to call this award weapon. And we'll pass in the player, and we'll pass in, we could just do award tool and then use it for all tools. That's all right. Weapon name. We can refactor as we grow. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to check to see if the player has any weapons at all before I check to see if they have that particular weapon. I don't want to give somebody the weapon twice. So I'm going to say if session data player dot weapons, then. So we're checking to see if this is, if we actually have a weapons field in our session data. When we initialize our session data, before what I did in the other videos, I did initialization. The reason I'm not doing it now is because I'm going to initialize this with a table. And there's something funny about Roblox. When you save off tables with nothing in it and it comes back as a string. And then you get an error when you try to access your table or add stuff to the table. I've seen some stuff on the forums about that. And maybe they'll fix it someday, but they have not fixed it yet. So we are not going to be able to initialize this until we put a weapon in it. And that will fix the problem. All right, so if there are weapons, then I'm going to say for I and V in pairs. And I'll get my session data for the player. And we have weapons. So that's going to be a table. Weapons. Cool. Do. We're going to see if, so this is going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is going to have weapon names. It's going to be like red hyper laser, things like that. So this is going to be designed for many weapons. We're just doing one today. But I'll say if V equals the weapon name, then we have it. So we're going to return. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to leave. All right. So we get down here. We were sure that we had weapons. We checked the existence of that. If we do have weapons, we check to see if we have that particular weapon. Now we know we don't have the weapon. So we're going to go ahead and get this template, which is going to be the template hyperlaser, wait for child, weapon name, and we're going to clone it. I'll say local weapon equals template colon clone. Now we're going to get the weapon itself dot parent player dot backpack. So we're going to just put them in the backpack. We're not going to keep track of whether they're holding it or not. We could do that, but the video would get too long. It's already kind of long. So then I'll say if not session data player dot weapons. Oh, I keep spelling weapons wrong. Then we need to initialize. So right here, if the weapons didn't exist, we knew we didn't have it. So we jumped down here, we created that. But now we have to be careful. If we don't have any weapons, we got to make sure we can initialize this table, but we don't want to initialize the table and save it without a weapon. So we're going to do it right here, right before we award it. I'm going to say table insert. We'll get our session data. I just copied that. So I'm going to paste it and comma, session data player weapons, comma, weapon name. So we're going to put that weapon inside that table. So in case you guys, if you guys are familiar with tables, this is actually a table. We're saving a table in a table. So we have a subtable, a table of weapons. Cool. Well, we can award the weapon now. We could try it out, but I think I'm just going to push forward. Right? I'm going to make a little helper function down here. And this is going to be local. We're not going to call it anywhere else. We're only going to call it here in session utils. And I'm going to say is tool on player. That's going to check to see if it's in his backpack or if he's holding it. So I'm going to pass in the player and I'm going to pass in the tool name. I'm going to do this for all the tools, not just weapons. So that's why I call it tool. All right, so let's take a look at the character first. Now this is going to happen when we're starting up and we're dying and stuff like that. So we'll take a look at the character, or if the character's not there, we'll look for the character added event to fire and we will wait until it fires. Then we're guaranteed to have a character. So if we do have that, let's say, well, we will get a character. We might have to wait. That's the only problem. We'll say if char find first child, we'll do tool name. This is, he's holding it, right? It's on the character. If we do have it, we'll return true. Now we're going to do something similar down here because it could be in his backpack. So if player.backpack, I wish backpack popped up in my IntelliSense. We'll do a find first child, tool name here, then we'll return true. So here we're checking to see if he's holding it. Here we're checking to see if it's in his backpack. And then if we get down here, he just doesn't have it. So we're going to say return false. Awesome. Why do we need this? I'll show you. We got one more function to define. And it's going to be an idempotent function. So an idempotent function, if it runs once, it's the same as running it 100 times, right? It doesn't change the result if you run it more than one time. We need that because when we're dying or starting up, we might actually run this function twice. I'm going to make this a session utils function so we can call it from other places. So I'm going to prepend session utils here. And then I'll call this equip player. And I might do a lot of equipment here. I might not just do weapons. I might want to expand this out. All right. So we have our equip player. We'll say if, we're going to check for those weapons again. If not session data player.weapons, then we're going to return. We're like, he didn't even have any weapons. So we can return. He does not have it. So then we'll say, what else we're going to do? For INV in pairs, right? We're going to do something similar than above. We're going to do session data player. We're going to go through this weapons table because we know it exists now because we checked right up here. If we get down to here, it exists. We'll say if not is tool on player for the player and V, then, right? So this is going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be our weapon names like red hyper laser, right? If we do have, if we don't have that is tool on player, and we do have that tool, it is in our weapons, we're going to put it on our player. So I'm going to say local template, a little bit of redundant code here, replicated storage, wait for child, what do we call that? V. All right, then we'll do local weapon equals template colon clone. And then we'll do weapon parent. Let's stick it in his backpack. Player.backpack. Backpack. We have completed all the functions we needed. Now we just have to call them. So in initialize player, right? I call that when somebody gets in the game. This is where we get our data story. We do a protected call here. We kick them if we don't get our information back from our data store. That way we don't corrupt their data, right? And we do initialization here, but we can't really use that for our table. Maybe down below update board, I am going to call my session utils, and we'll say equip player. I have to prepend the session utils even though I'm in this script, right? That's just the way it is. All right, so we're going to do this one other place. So this is when they're entering the game. If we go over to our game manager, all right, this is where they get in the game. Right here, we'll call initialize player data, and it's going to equip them. But when we die, we want to make sure and handle that event. We don't want to lose our weapon when we die. So I need player. We could do character added, because when we die, that takes effect. There's another one. I think it's character added, appearance loaded. Let me see. Character added. I think it's character appearance. That's what it is. I haven't used it in a while. There it is. Appearance loaded. Boom. Connect. That happens after character added, right? And we'll do function char. So you're going to get a little bit of a race condition there. That's why we had to make equip player idempotent, right? We had to make sure that we could call it twice without causing any damage. I think if I just do a control V, I still have my session data stuff, session util stuff. Cool. Session utils, equip player. You see up here that we already did require it. We did that in the last video. All right, now the gun giver. One last thing. Let's go to the gun giver. And here, we are going to award the gun. I don't trust where that was going. Let's do session utils, award weapon. We could pass in the player, and I think we need a weapon name here. So, oh, we have item name. That's what we want. Item name. Cool beans. Let's try it out. I think we're good. Play. Let's get our view. See if we got any errors. I'll make this bigger. Right? My first time here because I just created that game. Go over here. Take weapon. Boom, I got the weapon. Let's make sure we don't get a second weapon. We didn't. Remember, we did checks for that. We didn't want to get a weapon twice. All right, let's die and see if we maintain our weapon. Reset character. Reset. We still got a weapon. Cool. Let's go ahead and leave the game. All right, now let's go ahead and go back in the game. Oh, look at that. We got the weapon. Cool beans. We can get gumballs. Right? We can only get 3. I didn't do a spawner for this one. Right? And then we have a visit count too. You've been here 2 times. So we're storing a bunch of stuff now. Now we're storing a weapon. I think that's pretty cool. So good luck with that. I will see you in the next video.